and learning more about somebody else's story.
Damn, this is getting me emotional.
So now we're going to compare all of you in this episode, like the video, and see how much privilege you have.
Hey, line up! Line up! Everybody line up! We're about to race. Hey, we are.
It sounds like an inspirational video.
For a $100 bill.
I've seen this video.
Oh, I love this video.
This is so good.
Before I say go, I'm gonna make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you,
Oh, this is gonna get deep.
I want you to take 2 steps forward.
I'm gonna say what I have to.
Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married.
Nope.
Wow.
Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home.
Yep.
No.
Damn, they really are cheating, sticking these leaps.
Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education.
There's a lot of them.
Oh,
Take 2 steps forward if you had access
I see where this is going.
This is like showing, I guess, privilege.
if you had access to a free tutor growing up.
People have that?
Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off.
Aw.
Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills.
Oh, man.
Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability. You don't have to pay for college.
Oh, y'all better take some big steps right there.
Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from.
Wow.
I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look.
I'm gonna cry.
It just makes me sad how these are factors that have nothing to do with what any of them have done, and it's just the situation and the cards they've been dealt.
Has nothing to do with anything any of you have done.
Puts things into perspective.
We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No.
It's such a good metaphor. I love this video.
To not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start.
Some of them never even moved.
But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race.
Wow. Life metaphor, man.
Whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learning more about somebody else's story.
Damn, this is getting me emotional.
It's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life.
This is amazing.
On your mark.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'd lose for sure. Even if I was in the front.
Go!
They're gonna win, not because they deserve to.
This is like giving me chills.
If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
That was so cool. I love that.
No one's saying like you're bad or anything. It is like acknowledging that you do have that head start in life for the race he's talking about.
With like younger people, it's important to kind of demonstrate or do these sort of like exercises and activities so they can kind of understand, because sometimes words just don't stick.
To see something like this being done by a white male, somebody who has so much privilege, it's so refreshing because he's, recognizing the privilege that he has, and he's showing, other people who have privilege, like, you need to recognize this too.
Hopefully when people watch this, honestly, they'll be more aware of the privileges they do have. Like honestly, I have privileges too. I think everybody has a privilege they don't recognize. It puts you in a spot where you realize the ones you have and you realize the ones you didn't have.
So now we're going to compare all of you in this episode, like the video, and see how much privilege you have.
Okay.
So keep track on the whiteboard, and for all the statements from the video, we're going to see how many steps ahead you'd end up with.
Okay.
Okay. I already know that most of these are gonna be yeses.
Yeah.
If both your parents are still married, that's one step.
25 years.
If you grew up with a father figure in the home, that's another step.
Okay.
Papa Mark.
If you had access to a private education, that's another
I
step.
did not.
Like private school? Oh yeah, I guess.
If you had access to a free tutor.
Yeah.
If you never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off, that's another step. If you've never had to help your mom or dad with the bills, that's another step.
We do, but that's not, but they don't make us.
If it wasn't because of your athletic ability that you don't have to pay for college, that's another step.
Half point because my parents paid for half my college and then I'm paying for half.
If you've never wondered where your next meal is gonna come from, that's another step.
Never. That scares me.
So what was your score?
I got all of them.
8. We would have been up front. 7.5 points. I grew up in a home where I didn't have to worry about a lot of things that a lot of people do.
5. I take ownership of it. Like, I try and use the resources I have to help others or like to educate others.
4. There are areas that I didn't really think about before where I am privileged.
Mine's 5, so I think I'm doing, like, I'm grateful for this right here. You know, this is a lot of privileges most people don't have. I actually think about how many different backgrounds we have on the show and how everyone comes from a different household and a story we don't know about, so that's kind of like makes me want to think like just treat everyone in a good way because you don't know about the shit they're going through.
3. It's cool to see that our cast comes from so many different little bits and pieces of the world. You realize that there's a story behind every person.
I'm taking none. I always try to think there's people who have less than I do. Like, if I have no tallies, it's fine. Fine for me. I could live with that.
So this is a video highlighting the idea of privilege. For you personally, how has privilege or lack of privilege impacted your life?
I mean, I'm very fortunate to have grown up with a family where I don't have to worry about food or like money.
It's completely set the course for my life. Like, I've gone to a private school my whole life, so then I was able to go to a private college, and then from here I'll hopefully get a really good job. And if I didn't have that foundation, I wouldn't have been able to take the steps that I have now.
Because I'm a Mexican-American male, I've been given privileges that females haven't been given, but also considered a minority, there are some things where I don't have the upper hand in.
In a lot of ways, I am not considered privileged, and then in other ways, I am considered privileged. I always say to some of my white friends, I'm like, when it comes to things, you know, such as school or even the career that I'm pursuing, I have to work twice as hard as you just because of the color of my skin. I have to get people to see that I'm, you know, serious about what I'm doing.
Growing up, like, I didn't, like, my family, like, we came from the bottom up. Like, my dad, like, started, like, been 30 years with the company and, like, worked his way up. So I know what it's like to not have money and be frugal. I've seen my dad, like, I've seen, like, the kind of person he was, like, where we were at before in our old house and then moved into our new community now.
I grew up in a family who was always on welfare, always getting these government benefits. My mom would try to get jobs, but she wouldn't get them. And honestly, like, it sucks to say, but I grew up in a family who were all gang members. And honestly, I hate when people say, oh, your mom's honestly not trying. No, every opportunity she got, she tried to get a job, but nobody would hire her. Because she grew up like in an environment too that was like that. And my mom might have not had the best life, but she was trying her hardest.
So the topic of privilege tends to be, you know, rather controversial. For people that argue that privilege exists, usually they will argue that whether or not you know it, an element of one's life gives them an advantage over other people. Do you think that privilege exists in people's lives whether they realize it or not?
Definitely. And I think because we live in California, it's not as visible. It's so multicultural out here that people have no problem seeing you or walking down the street with you or sharing a meal with you.
Privilege does exist because it's like some people never have to work for anything. They can just go to school and they don't have to worry about it, whereas other people might have to work since they're 15 to save up and go to school.
If you're African American or darker skin or whatever, you're a little more like worried about stuff. If I go to the airport or whatever, there is a different type of mindset, not fear, but like mindset I have already going in, like, hey, I'm probably gonna get stopped or randomly checked because it's part of the, like, how stuff works. Like, not, it shouldn't work like that, but that's how stuff works.
It's like its own bubble. You're in it, but you don't realize you're in it. I realized that I need to work hard to get, if I wanna, like, it sounds bad, but if you wanna have those privileges or something, you have to keep moving forward and keep doing it. It's like something you can't stop doing.
When you are privileged, you don't have to think about it. And I've had conversations about this with my father, who is a white male. Luckily, he's been very receptive to it. And now he sees like, okay, yeah, I am privileged in those two ways, but I've never had to think about it because it just doesn't affect my life in a negative way.
So there's some people who disagree with the idea of privilege, often arguing that perceived privileges are an excuse put out by those struggling to find success, or that it shouldn't be called a privilege to set yourself or your child up for success.
I think privilege is real, but I do agree with that people can use it as something to pity themselves.
A lot of people use it as an excuse. People who didn't have resources in general in their lifetime, they did figure out how to overcome it. it must have been stupid hard, way harder than someone who had the privilege, but they still got it done.
I don't think you can say there's no such thing as privilege when you've enjoyed it your entire life, you know? Because, and yeah, people like to use that excuse of people not working hard enough, but the thing is that most people with the privilege aren't working hard enough.
Even if you are a white male and you are, privileged in that sense, you could still be, you could still have a lack of privileges in other ways. If we really think about it, most people are at a disadvantage in one way or another.
It's a real thing and it does affect people, and I understand that argument, but I think a lot of times that argument comes from people who don't like to acknowledge that they've had the upper hand. The things that you have set up for you by your parents or by one parent, like that definitely sets you on a certain track.
People are like, oh, I worked hard for this. But what did you have in your life that helped you do that?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that work super hard but still don't have the opportunity that we have.
Going back to the video we showed you, the video is made by Link Year, a gap year educational program focusing on Christianity. Does it change your view of the video knowing that it was put out by a religious group?
Honestly, no.
No, it doesn't, because they aren't really talking about anything religious. They're talking about real societal problems.
Sometimes religion is viewed in such a negative way, especially when this video has nothing to do with religion, especially. They're just promoting good morals.
Religion itself kind of gives me like an eerie feeling. Knowing that it came from like the church who produced it, still, I don't think so, because it's still a good message.
If anything, it's even more awesome because it just talks about, this unity and kind of realizing that some people have it better than others. And it totally doesn't change my perspective on it, though. I think it's still a fantastic video and a great lesson.
Finally, regardless of how people feel on this issue, do you think it is important that we think about and discuss privilege?
Oh, definitely, because if we don't talk about this, it just grows ignorance.
Use your resources wisely. I mean, that's the main thing you can do is be courteous and generous with what you're given that other people can't.
It's just so frustrating when you can't get into people's heads about that stuff. And you can't change their mind. You can't change their mind about, listen, things need to change.
That's the one way that we're going to, one, be able to find common ground. And that's also how we're going to move forward and make change. We need to discuss this. We need to have, some sort of discourse.
If you've reached a certain level, I'm not asking you to, totally demean yourself and say, hey, I don't have any skill, I just got here. I just want it to be acknowledged. I would like for it to be acknowledged hey, I'm here because of this. Even though we can't do anything about it, I think it's still important to talk about what it is and for others to not demean minorities or whomever else because they don't enjoy the same things that they do.